Concierge Q's You Are Here coverage of the 2015 DENT Conference is sponsored by Stephanie Sellers. Our passion is your passion. Starting, growing, and managing your collection. Catherine Stephanie, a rare and collectible wine specialist.
Hi, I'm Vernon Scott for Concierge Q, where travel meets entertainment. And you are here at the 2015 DENT Conference in beautiful Sun Valley, Idaho. Today we're talking with Binta Niambi Brown, DENT speaker, who is a senior strategic business advisor, human rights advocate, nascent angel investor, and Tony Award voter. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's a very impressive resume.
Well, you know, it's all fake.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
That makes it easy. Can you tell us about your experience here at the DENT Conference?
Well, yeah, it's going to be a short experience for me, unfortunately. We came in yesterday from another festival, from South by Southwest, where I have a new company and a new title that goes with the company, where several of our artists were performing. So I got in late. And because one of those artists is opening for Lady Antebellum tomorrow in Washington for the National Music Publishing Association, I'm leaving earlier than I expected to. But last night's dinner was fantastic, and this morning's breakfast was great, and I'm looking forward to the 3 hours that I get to spend here after our chat.
And have you made your speech yet?
No, that's coming up.
What are some of the highlights of that going to be?
We're going to discuss associative fluency, which is this idea that we do better as leaders and human beings when we are allowing ourselves to take in a variety of different influences and the way that we think about and act and interact in the world. So, for example, you know, when you can borrow one idea from the world of sports marketing, right? And how do you apply that to work with the performing arts? You know, and use those lessons to bring in more viewers. Or, you know, for me as a former corporate lawyer who was also a musician or is also a musician, who's also interested in the theater, who's also has a policy and political background, like how does this all work? And how does all of this inform everything? So it's really the idea of a well-roundedness and sort of a true liberal arts way of being and behaving in the world, and what that means for leadership as compared to our hyperlinear education model, which typically says you have to pick one thing and just focus on that and do that. So there'll be a conversation around those ideas.
And you feel that the overlap of social media, of the internet, of all cultures being connected now like we've never been before, you see this as the future of leadership, of art, and of community?
Absolutely. I mean, whether you're a Fortune 100 CEO of a technology company that has nothing to do with entertainment, you know, like let's say an automotive company, although automotive companies have a lot to do with entertainment from my perspective. Let's say you're a Fortune 100 CEO, or whether you're, you know, the President of the United States, whatever your leadership capacity is, I think we're very much in an era now where, in part because of globalism and in part because of all of the other, like just the amount of information that's out there, that you can't just be, you know, the HBS graduate who's applying certain management techniques to how you run your business. Or you can't just be the Ivy League lawyer who's coming in and running something, running the country, for example. You have to be able to draw from so many different influences because the world has changed and we're all connected in very different ways. And in the absence of being able to bring in all of those different influences and be able to think through them and understand them, then you lose the capacity to lead most effectively. That's not to say that there aren't people who aren't incredibly capable of leading divisions and silos of different things. But even they have to have an openness and a willingness to understand things that might not seem to have anything to do with what they're doing. Right? So when I was practicing law, I would always say to people who would ask me, you have all of these interests, and usually, oftentimes, it was a criticism. Binta, you have all of these interests, we just need you and want you to focus. And my answer was, part of the reason why I'm as good an advisor as I am, and part of the reason people call me, part of the reason why I'm able to develop clients, is because I have a variety of different inputs that I rely upon to inform how I advise and help others, how I create strategy, right? If you're only looking at one example, then you only have one example, and you don't have a full arsenal, a full creative arsenal to solve problems. And problem solving and leadership are very much about creativity. which you only get from bringing in a bunch of different influences. But then there's another part, which is for these business leaders, leave political aside, but for the business leaders, given the role businesses have in the world today, if you have no understanding of human rights, or the people who are, like a business is a collection of contracts and human beings, and maybe a couple of other assets. And if you have no understanding of humanity, I don't know how you can build, like the human beings who are going to buy, who are going to use, who are going to experience your products, then I don't know how you build a healthy business. The people who are going to be working for you, if you don't understand all of these different things, it's not enough to know how to balance the budget and to, make cuts if you have to make cuts, or to figure out where to make investments. You have to understand the whole picture.
That's probably the healthiest and most modernist perspective on lifestyle in not only America, but in the world right now as we're living it, as I've heard. So thank you for that.
Well, okay.
but let me ask you this, because we're very excited to know that you are a Tony voter.
Sure.
Is there anything on Broadway we need to see right now?
Well, as a Tony voter, I cannot say. What I would say is you should go and see everything, because there's something that's been magnificent from my perspective, and the critics might disagree with me on this. There's something magnificent that's been happening, which is that the last 3 or 4, maybe 5 years of Broadway, there have been so many incredible, high-quality performances and productions. And I don't say that as an overall ambassador for the American Theater Wing, on whose board I sit, or for the Broadway community. I say it because it's really true. There was a period where things, it seemed sort of like to quiet down, and it wasn't, like the allure of Broadway wasn't really there, but it's very much doing this. And so, people ask me all of the time what they should see. I usually will refer back to last year's Tony winners, because that's the easiest thing. I can't get in trouble for that.
Right.
So see last year's Tony winners to the extent that they're still open.
Is there one performance or show that has stuck with you over the last 5 or 6 years that that really made its mark?
Oh, there's so many. Well, I loved Pippin, because Pippin was the first musical I learned. So I'm a musician, and I've played in pit orchestras when I was pit bands and orchestras when I was a kid, and even my early 20s. So I loved Pippin just because I knew that soundtrack. And also, at the point when I saw it, I was in the midst of a very big transition. I was transitioning from being a corporate lawyer to figuring out how to use my polyglot sort of existence to build the company that I'm working on building right now. And so, there were people, and particularly when you think about associative fluency and some of the ideas we were talking about before, and you think about the character of Pippin, I'll try this, I'll try this, I'll try this thing, I'll try this thing. And so there was some aspect of that just really resonated with me, like this notion of trying all of these different things, and like the sort of the cultural perception of this person is a wanderlust and they can't focus. I kind of think of it as being a fully formed and living human being who is aware of the variety and the spice of life. And just wants to experience these different senses. So Pippin stuck out for me. Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder caught me off guard because I didn't expect to love it. And it was just so incredibly funny, and the performances were so amazing. The people were so dynamic. But the performances that have resonated most with me, and that continue to resonate most with me, are the ones that help me to understand who I am, and what my role is as a human being in society, in the world, in my family, amongst my friends, but then also teach me something about the human condition, right? And elevate me past whatever my presumptions were and cause me to stretch, cause me to think and to see the world differently. That's what I love about going and sitting in the theater 50 to 70 times a year, is when you're sitting down and you have a predisposition, you know the way you think about something, and you're seeing a performance, and it's so dynamic and so motivating that you're like, wait a minute, I'm wrong about this. Like when they can change your heart and your mind and cause you to love even more others in the world whom you might have judged or been scared of or afraid of, and we all have our little things, right? Then to me, that's the power of great art. So go see everything.
Binta Niambi Brown, you are an inspiration. Thank you so much for being with us. This is Vernon Scott for Concierge Q, where travel meets entertainment. We are at the 2015 DENT Conference in Sun Valley, Idaho. We will be back with more interviews right after this.